Stephanie Sonkin. I'm a senior in SIS and I studied abroad at King's College in London, England. I am ethnically Russian. My parents are originally from the USSR, but I was born in New York. So my first language was Russian, but I'm a native English speaker. I chose to study abroad in London because I have always been an Anglophile, and I had previously studied abroad in Costa Rica and the Galapagos because I had been studying Spanish in high school and college, and since I was going for a full semester, I had already done the language immersion portion that I wanted to achieve, so I figured an English-speaking country that I already had an affinity for would be very interesting to me. Just better understanding of British culture, because all we really know as Americans about British people is that they have interesting accents and the Queen, so I wanted to know more intricate details about their culture. I knew I would definitely have it easier because of the language aspect, but anyone who knows anything about England, and Britain for that matter, knows that they speak a completely different form of English than we do. But other than that, I was under no assumptions. I was completely expecting culture shock to happen one way or another, but I just didn't know in what form that would take. I definitely gravitated toward British students. All the students that I lived with in our flat were British, and because the dorm complex was so large, I did not have as much contact with students from AU who were studying abroad in the same place or other international students, so I definitely got closer with British students than I did with foreign students. And I think that's a great advantage, especially for my study abroad experience, because typically when American students go abroad, they usually form a little group of Americans who hop around Europe together and don't fully experience the local culture because they're not interacting with as many locals. I definitely learned the most just hanging out with my flatmates in our kitchen, just watching anything that was on television, because BBC programming is different. They show different news stories and everything, and then we would just talk about it. They would ask me things about America, how American politics worked, or our policies on abortion or something like that, or the healthcare system, and then they would give me information back. We also made a lot of trips to the pub, which is, of course, an English rite of passage, and just, you know, going out and exploring the city, because it was their first year at university as well, even though they were the same age as I was, except British students typically take a gap year to work and or travel. In England, they use different names for different foods as opposed to us. So our eggplant is their aubergine, our zucchini is their courgette, and they do not use the term cilantro. When I first got there, every study abroad student has that panicky moment of, oh my God, what did I just do? Is this really the right decision? It's not really going the way I was expecting. But then after you're there for a month or so, it's just like adjusting to college. You just have to get used to it, get into a routine, and then you'll completely enjoy it. I didn't realize that reverse culture shock would be more brutal than culture shock, because there was a point when I came home where I did not interact on social media for about a week, and I could not explain why I was so hesitant to get on Facebook or look at Instagram. And after that, I realized that I was just upset that I had left, but I didn't realize that it would manifest itself that way. So do not underestimate culture shock, and especially reverse culture shock.
Caviar, cigarettes, well-versed in etiquette, extraordinarily nice. She's a killer queen.
ever did get so deep beneath the surface, or if that ever happened, I didn't realize it. Because I had known enough about British life beforehand that nothing fully surprised me. So maybe I had gone, underneath or inside the iceberg before and not noticed it. It's either that or American and British inherent values are very similar. So there wasn't much of a transition or bridging that needed to happen. I did not, because as soon as I got home from the airport, my friends had thrown me a surprise welcome home party. So right away, I was already jet lagged and exhausted, but excited to see people that I hadn't seen for half a year. And it didn't hit me right away because, who would expect, you're seeing people that you're familiar with, you're in a familiar location, and then subconsciously you get to the realization that, you're not in a foreign country anymore. The excitement's worn off. It's back to normal life, and subconsciously, I didn't like that. Definitely changed my opinions, especially about this country. Talking with British people about what they thought about the US and what the EU thought about the US. Definitely an eye-opener because their opinions are different than American opinions. And it just gives you a whole different outlook on life, knowing that you traveled by yourself, knowing that you can be independent, knowing that you can get along in a foreign country without the help of your parents or your home institution to an extent. And it's just a really liberating experience, more than just going off to college. And that's basically what I got out of it. Well, in classes, you can definitely bring up the British perspective if it applies, and it helps you play devil's advocate if you're more skeptical about what your classmates are talking about, especially if they haven't studied or traveled abroad. Definitely study the country that you are about to visit. Just read their news sources, know what television shows there are, what students or the people that you're interacting with typically do on the weekends or for fun, because that will definitely help you fit in more and will lessen culture shock, because culture shock will definitely happen. Definitely expect culture shock, but it will help ease that transition into a new culture.